Go. So, guys, we are live and in session for Leadership Academy weekly prep number 2, and I'm excited to dig in for the next several minutes and talk about continuing, our self-awareness topic of how we show and receive appreciation in the workplace, as well as how we do it in our personal lives. We're also going to dig in a little bit into having meaningful conversations of what's in it for our people. So in addition to that, we're going to talk about 12 qualities of a leader. So those are the topics for tonight. I'm excited to dig in. These are things that I've used in my business, and I've seen great leaders that I've had the pleasure of being able to work with, teach me and work with me and work with our organization. And one of the things that I really truly love the most about our company and what we do is the people that we have in it. We really have some amazing leaders in our business, people that truly care about the success of other people that are truly invested into helping people to grow. I am out here currently for Jeff Gamboa's bachelor party, and it's so awesome because many of the people that are coming in together to celebrate Jeffrey are people in the business, people that at one point were in the business. Several of his family that are currently in the bridal party, so to speak, are former Cutco people or current Cutco people. His own brother, Christopher, was a former assistant manager in our Leadership Academy program way back in the day, and somebody who's now successful in the software world, is in addition to being an amazing nutritionist coach, somebody that I've used in the past to help me with some of my energy and health and wellness activities that I'm going to teach you guys later in the fall. So it is amazing the quality of people that we develop in the business. And I think part of the reason why we develop such great people is that we have a focus on just doing that. We have a focus. We actually, quote unquote, give a shit about our people developing and growing, whereas a lot of other organizations, maybe it's not at the top of their priority list. It's maybe 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th on the list. So not something that is really big for them. So we have a big growth thrust in our organization. And as a reminder, our 4 pillars here in the Georgia division are, number 1, true professionalism. So let's make sure we're taking tons of notes during these meetings and events. Let's make sure you're muting yourself out so that we don't get a bunch of nasty feedback during this meeting. The next one is high performance mindset, and making sure you're handling the business, taking care of things. And if you're in school right now, that means getting great grades. If you're not in school right now, that means going all in full time here, not going half-assed. If you are in school, producing here in the way that you can, making the most of your opportunity that you have in front of you. What I love about our business is the fact that you can work super part-time and make more than your buddies that are working every single day. So high performance mindset is big. Being in growth mode, both personally, professionally, financially, not settling for where you are currently, but growing to be the next level version of yourself. And the thing that's great and challenging about being in growth mode is that it's a continual thing. It's not something that stops. It's not an arrival point. It's not something that once you get there, you're just done. You have to consistently be working on it, otherwise you'll digress. And then lastly is culture of fun and having a ton of fun while we're doing it. So what's great about this next topic that we're going to dig into, which is the 5 love languages in the workplace, 5 levels of showing appreciation in the work environment, is that it really does truly enable you to make your organization more upbeat. It allows you to make your organization better, more fulfilling. People leave or part of your organization feeling better about their place in it. And when they go, they look back with fond remembrance of the business. And so you guys all took the love language test this past week. I am going to send a link for another test that you guys will be able to take this week called the Core Value Index, which is basically a way that enables you to be able to get the most out of understanding how you operate and why you operate the way you operate, how you think, how you analyze things. So we'll take that test after this, but the one that we've taken here recently is the 5 love languages. And no matter what your love language is, it is important that if you are a leader, that you are showing and helping people that have different love languages than you guys do. Okay? Whoever has got loud feedback, please make sure you mute, because otherwise, there's going to be a lot of feedback on the recording and on this message, or this meeting. But let's go ahead and dig into each of these topics. And I'm curious to know how many of you guys had as your number one love language being receiving gifts. Anybody have receiving gifts as their number one love language? Right? That doesn't seem like a lot of people in our division had receiving gifts as number one. And here's the thing, guys. I know it's not a bad thing at all. In fact, it's a very cool thing, and it's honestly one of the easiest to be able to show when you work with people that have that as their highest love language. So, so I want to dig into each of these and how you can show it, how to really communicate it, and ways to work it. So let's talk about it. If receiving gifts is somebody's number one love language, the way that you can show appreciation for them is doing very subtle things to help them out or to give them an offering that is a visual representation of showing somebody that you value them. So there's many little visual representations that you can show. One of the simplest ones is grabbing a cup of coffee for somebody when you're buying one for yourself. I used to mention this to our managers back when every single organization had full-time staff, so receptionists, was just, if ever you go in and you're grabbing and you're bringing in coffee for yourself, always make sure to call and ask if anybody in the office needs something. I know in our office this summer, Jack Green was always excellent about doing that. Whenever he was picking up something for himself on the way to the office, he would reach out and just say, hey, you may need anything. But that receiving gifts is a big deal. Picking up their photocopies for them, helping somebody out with their dry cleaning could be another example of receiving gifts. Just being for the other person when they want you to be is another example of showing somebody value by receiving gifts. It could be something as simple as a contest. And you'll notice that people that have a high receiving gifts love language, they're going to be the ones that whenever you do a phone jam contest, they really care about what the prize is. They really get fired up about the prize, and it needs to be something meaningful. Otherwise, it just doesn't matter as much to them. For some people, the level of competition is enough, and the fact that you're giving anything away becomes a big deal. But for people that have high receiving gifts, they always want to know what the next big contest is, or they always want to know what the prize is going to be at the next phone jam. So just being aware of that. And if your receiving gifts is very low, which I know many of yours was, I think it's important that you make sure that you're still trying to honor that by having something fun or special with any contests that you do. Going out of your way to to make sure that if you're traveling as a leader, and you have people that are working with you or for you, that you're bringing them souvenirs back home. Just subtle things, little things. And again, it doesn't necessarily have to be something super awesome, but the fact that you're thinking of them and there's a visual representation goes a long way. The next one, which is we're going to go kind of the flip mode from maybe the easiest to one that's also very easy, but it's very difficult in our business, which is quality time. See, the more successful that you become in our business, the more that your time becomes a premium. And it's hard to just give somebody time. For example, if you're a small branch organization and you just have a handful of reps that you're working with, well, then it's very easy to express quality time. I mean, if you have 5 people that are on your team, you could talk to every single rep for 30 to 45 minutes every single day, and it wouldn't get in the way of you being able to run your business and do all the other functions that you need to do. If you have a small organization during phone jams, you can really sit and spend time helping them out and working with them, and and get in the way or the flow of you being able to impact everybody that's there. So the smaller your team, the easier it is to show quality time. So just finding time to talk to them, listening, engaging with others. It's incredibly important, because how many of you guys had quality time as one of your top 1 or 2? Many of you did, right? And so quality time is a big deal. It's important that you're honoring that. Knowing that so many people have that as a big one, it's important that you're going out of your way to communicate that. Now, here's the other great thing about quality time, though. As your organization becomes bigger, as you're developing more and more people, there's ways that you can show quality time without necessarily having to spend a ton of time with those individuals. And one of the ways that you can show that is just making sure that no matter how big or small the conversation is, that you're showing complete attention and energy towards their conversation. So even if it's just a little one-on-one convo for like 2 minutes, you're not on your phone when you're having the conversation. Your body language is directly facing them, so that you're giving them your full attention. If somebody comes up and tries to interrupt, instead of stopping the conversation to answer the question, say, hey, just hold on 1 second. I'm having time for this conversation right now. People feel appreciated because they know that they've been part of a quality conversation. So observing body language, asking questions, paying attention, getting their input. Those are all ways that you can show quality time while in the workplace. And again, this is something where if you schedule a specific time to sit down with somebody that works, keeping, if you're pulling somebody into an office to have a serious conversation with them versus doing it publicly, that quality time can really impact them. So that's, again, simple one to show, but pretty big. Another really easy one, and this is maybe besides receiving gifts, the easiest one to kind of exemplify, which is words of affirmation. And who in here had words of affirmation as one of their highest love languages, either their top 1 or their top 2? Anybody have that one? So with words of affirmation, the thing that's great about words of affirmation is to make sure that you're complimenting. And and as a and as a leader, that's just a good reminder in general, is people that feel good do good. And so if every time you meet somebody or every time you see somebody, you go out of your way to make a sincere compliment, it goes a long way. Now here's the thing. Words of affirmation can very quickly be misconstrued if not done the right way. And what I mean by that is, if you're just making a note of yourself, just always compliment the way somebody looks, like, hey, you're looking really sharp today, or hey, really like your hair today, or hey, whatever, right? Hey, I really value you, or hey, you're really awesome. And there's no real substance to it. One of the things that vector people tend to do is overuse the word awesome. And everything is awesome. If everything is awesome, then the things you call awesome are no longer awesome. So it's important that you're making sure that the compliments are sincere. When you're showing words of affirmation, when you're showing appreciation, when you're encouraging somebody, you want to personalize it to them. If you're saying that you believe in somebody, you're telling somebody you believe in them, make sure it's backed up with sincere reason why you believe in them. Employee surveys all over the place talk about how everybody wants to be thanked and appreciated for what they do. So because of that, words of affirmation are something that's incredibly important to show. And I know that for me, one of the life lessons that was taught to me by my original mentor in the business, DVM-wise, was a guy by the name of Mar Devane. He said that people are always asking themselves, does my boss like me? And does he think I'm doing, or does she think I'm doing a good job? So does my boss like me? Does my manager enjoy working with me? And do they think I'm doing a good job? And words of affirmation is one of the greatest ways that you can show people that you do truly appreciate them and work with them. So if you aren't sure as to whether or not somebody's love language is, I would just always kind of err on the side that there's a good chance that words of affirmation is probably pretty high on their list. For some people, it's not. Like I know for me, it's not really a big deal. But but for most people that are in the world of sales, knowing that you're in marketing, knowing that you're communicating with people all the time, it's pretty good drop down to always assume, a pretty good, I guess, assumption to make that people have words of affirmation is probably pretty high up on their list. So if you just think, hey, can I make sure I'm making a sincere compliment or showing sincere words of appreciation with every single person that I'm interacting with, making them to feel good, that goes a long way. The last two, which tend to be, the two that, are, kind of harder to show in the workplace than maybe the others are, but it's still incredibly important because some people do have these very high as their love languages. I know for me, they are my two highest, but so it's acts of service and then physical touch. And so I want to dig into a little bit to acts of service for a second, because a lot of times people think acts of service is like buying things or helping somebody out, but what really truly it is, it's just going out of your way to let them know that you're doing something that they want you to do. It's tougher because acts of service involve a little bit of thought and effort and planning. It could be simply expressed as an offer to help or to do something that can help make a difference. If you see a coworker or you see a representative, trying to get organized with names, numbers, simply offering to help them with that could go a long way. If you see somebody struggling on the phone, saying, "Hey, can I help you out a little bit?" That little simple act of service of, "Hey, can I help you out?" and offering to help coach up their skill level can really go a long way for somebody who has high acts of service. I will say that as a leader, it's even more important that you're going out of your way to show acts of service, because a lot of people want to impress the boss, so they want to impress the leader. So they do tend to offer help more frequently as a subordinate than they do necessarily a commanding officer or commanding leader, right? But when you are in charge, one of the best books I've read recently is Simon Sinek's Leaders Eat Last. And one of the concepts is that in the military, commanding officers will usually be the last ones to eat. And the reason for that is they want to make sure that their troops are taken care of first. And so that simple act of allowing others to eat before they do goes a long way for those individuals that have acts of service as a very high list. So offering to, for example, in the office, helping somebody to get their rope and leather form, holding the door for somebody, offering to help carry things up and down from somebody's car if they're moving stuff in. Helping to get the office cleaned up after a team meeting is another great act of service that as a leader, you won't truly appreciate until you're running your own office. But when people help you clean the office and get it ready for your next event, it goes a long way. So next time you're in a situation where you're part of a group, be willing to offer help for other people and give it a go and see how good it feels for you when you're helping somebody else out. And also the reaction that you get from those individuals, because for many, acts of service is not their top love language. It's usually not their last one either. So it's one of those ones where it tends to kind of be in the middle ground for most people, and it's pretty cool. So for example, if somebody's got high acts of service, buying them a gift that helps with one of those things that makes their life easier could be construed as an act of service. Like I know for me, anytime I get a gift where it makes my life a little bit easier, or it makes doing my job a little bit easier, I always value that. And it's the concept of thinking about what I do in my day-to-day that it really means a lot more than the fact of getting an actual gift itself. So for acts of service, that's it's a great way to kind of handle those people that maybe you don't notice what their love language is. And then one of the easiest ones to notice, but the hardest to kind of satisfy in the workplace as far as appreciation goes, is the concept of physical touch. And I will say in a few professions, there is a level of touch that is appropriate. In most organizations, it's not appropriate at all. And so you got to make sure that the big vector hugs that you'll see people give at conferences and stuff like that. Out in corporate America, you do that once, and you're going to get a couple weird looks. But there are ways that you can show that level of appreciation and make it more effective. I'll give you a couple of examples of how that is an important part of management leadership appreciation. They were reviewing NBA championship teams, and what they found is that the teams that won basketball games during the NBA playoffs, they tended to be a lot more hands-on and cooperative than the losing teams were. In fact, one of the studies was studying the finals where the Dallas Mavericks ended up winning the NBA championship. And in one game, they had 250 slaps, hugs, taps, fist bumps, pickups from a loose ball where you're helping somebody up. Almost twice as many as their opposition had in that game. And so if you think about that conceptually, another great example is in the World Series when the Chicago Cubs won back in 2016. They had, 3 times as much physical interaction as a team than the losing team, and that involved everything from doing the old bump on the elbows and the forearms to kind of show recognition, fist bumps, high five, pats on the backs, right? 3 times as much as the losing team. And so if you think about that, for those that have high physical touch, the other way you can do about that is they're just usually more physical people in general. So animation, movement, creation, getting people up and down, and having fun, exertions of energy, can help those individuals that have appreciation that's high with physical touch. So that could be things like shooting basketball in the office. It could be things like giving somebody a high five every time they book a demo, doing a fist bump, having a bell they come up and ring. Because if you think about it, you're not actually touching them in that phone jam effort where they book up a demo and they ring a bell or they slap something. But the person who is booking is touching the bell, or they are touching the easy button, or high fiving or taking a shot or doing whatever it is that you recognize them for a job well done. And so for people that have that physical touch as a very high love language, they tend to get a lot more into the high fives, the concept of you handing them a ticket, right? And that subtle kind of interaction that happens when you do that. So for those that have physical touch, that is something that can help to satiate that need for appreciation on a business level. And a personal level, all of these love languages have vast implications as well. And we talked about that a lot last week, but just make sure you're being aware of it. And one of the last things I'll mention about that love language concept is, for people that matter in your life, one of the things that we talked about at the beginning of Leadership Academy, we'll continue to talk about, is your circle of influence. People that you're learning from, people that you're learning for, and people that you're learning with, and people that you're interacting with. Do you know what their love language is? Maybe you know it for people that you're learning with, right? For example, if you're in Leadership Academy, everybody has posted what their love language is. So you probably know what theirs is, but do you know for people that are above you, people that you're learning from? Do you know for people that you're learning for what their love language is? Because if you know that, it enables you to make a deeper connection with those individuals in your personal life, the people that matter to you. Your significant others. Do you know what theirs is? It's funny. Sometimes you'll guess and you think but it's actually not what you think it is. Sometimes the individuals are just trying to reciprocate what you have, and in doing that, it comes across as them having the exact same love language. Sometimes we're so self-absorbed in ourselves that we assume that they have the same love language that we do, or that they operate from that standpoint because you've been able to quote unquote get away with it, or maybe that you've done that in the past. So that would be a fun exercise leaving this event. Leaving this meeting is reaching out to people that matter to you: parents, significant others, siblings, close colleagues, and saying, hey, have you taken the love language test? So a lot of times you'll get kind of a weird look, especially for people that maybe aren't all lovey-dovey. For example, Rafi, I doubt there's a lot of people in the test, but what I will say is if you do know it, it makes a big difference. And the more you study it, the more you can start to notice it, right? The people that you're working with, how do they naturally respond? Look at their body language, look at their mannerisms, look at what gets them excited when they feel whole, when they feel happy. What was the activities or the time frame right before it that enabled that action or that emotion to come out on their face, or to come out in their body language, or to come out in their words that they're expressing. And if you start to analyze that, you'll figure out what their love language is, even if they don't take the test. And the more you start thinking about it, the more you start noticing it. With your customers, it's the same concept, right? As you're doing presentations with them, you'll start to notice how they express appreciation as you're connecting with them while you're building rapport. So, do they shake your hand right when you walk in, or do they just kind of escort you to the room? Do they really take the time to get to know you at the beginning, or are they kind of short and quick? Do they offer you water, which is a kind of a combination of acts of service as well as a gift, right? Do they really truly compliment you when you walk in, or do they seem genuinely excited to talk to you? I mean, all of those things are things you can notice right at the beginning when you're building rapport. And if you start to mimic those things, it'll express itself usually in bigger orders and more recommendations. Because again, just like people that feel good do good in the workplace, just like people that feel good have healthier and better relationships in the personal life, your customers that feel good and are showing appreciation or receiving appreciation from you in the manner in which they enjoy the most tend to be more in line with what we want, which of course is a bigger order and more recommendations. So be curious to know if anybody has any questions on this. Post it in the WhatsApp group chat. Let's get some chatter going. But that was kind of our personal growth section on applying the love language concept into to the workplace and showing appreciation on a day-to-day basis. So the next little topic I want to transition into is going to be how do you have a meaningful what's in it for them conversation? And part of leadership is truly caring about your people and doing what's in their best interest at all times. And most people don't get into a leadership position unless they have some sort of interest in helping others. But I will say it's important that you make sure that you're constantly showing this, so that way we can express it, and we can honor it. And even though we talk about this being important, even though usually internally it is driving our actions. Sometimes if words of affirmation isn't our highest love language, we don't tend to express it, in the way that we're operating, in the way that we're doing things. And so having a what's in it for them conversation and using it as part of your everyday conversation and communication with people can really honor those words of affirmation people that have that as a high level. And just by focusing in on doing the process that I'm about to teach you, will also honor that quality time love language, which is, again, words of affirmation and quality time tend to be two of the higher ones that our division has, and two of the higher ones that most people in sales have. So here are the 7 steps to having a what's in it for them conversation. And apply this anytime you need anything done, because the goal of these what's in it for them conversation is not manipulation. It's not to force somebody to do something that they don't want to do, but really truly, coming up with a mutually beneficial action or mutually beneficial response to help somebody get to where they want to go. And so the first step of having a what's in it for them conversation, and again, goes on to the words of affirmation concept, but it's building up why you're excited to work with them. So building up why you're excited to work with them is important, because If you just immediately are jumping into, hey, do this because it's helping you for this, I think, people may not feel appreciated properly. They may not feel welcome. They may not even be open to hearing what you have to say. So building up why you're genuinely excited to work with them. One of the best I've ever seen at doing this is my original division manager, the legend Larry Manley. He always remembers to remind people of and build up of why he's excited to have a conversation, or why he's excited to go in a certain direction, or why he's excited about having you do something. We kind of kiddingly used to say that Larry was, he was somebody that would be so good at building people up that he would make people feel honored and valued and appreciated just to take out the trash. And he can make that seem like an amazing leadership opportunity for you. But one of the ways he did that was just by simply building up why he's excited about working. And he was genuine about it. And so you really want to be looking as a good finder about why you're excited to work with somebody, because everybody has value, no matter how noticeable or unnoticeable it first is in your organization. Every single person adds value to that organization. Even those negative Nancy's out there, even those people that are hypercritical or hyper negative, they add a lot of value, because what it does is that gives you an opportunity to grow as a leader. And if you can make a difference in those individuals' lives and get them to come around to thinking positively and acting right, they get so stubborn in that positivity that they end up being some of your most loyal soldiers in your army. So build up why you're excited to work with them. Number two is address the area of opportunity, influence, assignment that you want completed, strength that you want them to really live out. But whatever task, whatever function, whatever action you want influence, that becomes next. So after you build them up, it's like, hey, I want to talk to you a little bit about boom, whatever it is, right? It may be, hey, I want to talk to you a little bit about how to have the most amazing phone jam tonight at the team meeting, right? So, or maybe, hey, I want to talk to you about, how you can take your sales level from averaging $300 up to averaging $500. Or hey, maybe I want to talk to you about how you can actually step up and really be a leader on our team because of some of the things that I've noticed about you, right? Or hey, I want to talk to you a little bit more about how you can do more of what you've been doing the last couple of weeks, just whatever it is you're trying to influence, that becomes next. But you want to make sure you talk to them about, why you're excited about working with them before you go into addressing the area of opportunity or thing that you want to influence. The third key is appealing to logic. Okay, the third step to having a what's in it for them conversation is appealing to logic. And logic is kind of why it's important for everybody. And this is, for example, let's say you want to take somebody's average order up from 300 to 500 or 200 to 400, whatever the case is, right? It's like, hey, obviously I'm sure you can imagine why it would be good for having a higher average order. Why do you think everybody loves having a higher average order? Allow them to talk about it, right? Or maybe you talk to them about wanting them to be an assistant manager. It's like, hey, why do you think our team would benefit, or how do you think our team could benefit by having more assistant managers on the team? And you allow them to kind of share some of the things that they like to. So that's the third step, is appealing to logic. The fourth step is appealing to emotion. And emotion is, that's where it's specific to them. That's the vision, the why, driving them, painting the picture, right? So it's how it really matters to them specifically. So let's say, for example, that you've got somebody that you're trying to influence into being a great leader as an assistant manager. Maybe they've shown great success so far sales-wise, and you really could utilize their help in the organization, or maybe you could really see them taking their skills to the next level and being one of the best in the division, or best in the region, or best in the company, or whatever. Well, I think it's important that you talk, first of all, about what it is that they're doing to improve themselves and why the organizational benefit, but then digging in specifically to whatever it is that really drives them. For some people, money is their main motivator. So as you appeal to emotion, you talk about, hey, here's what our average assistant manager earns in the division. Maybe it's experience. Hey, by having management experience on your resume, it looks that much more impressive than just having sales on your resume. Perhaps it's advancement is their goal, right? And it just kind of feeds right into that. Sometimes the appealing to emotion is really simple. It's like right in front of your face, and the conversation you want to have with them is specific. But then, after appealing to their emotion, the fifth key is to show belief. Okay, so showing belief in them, to in the fact that you believe that they can get it done, and reminding them, hey, I really believe in you. And then the sixth key is getting their commitment, owning permission to hold them accountable. Kind of showing them. And when you show the belief, I think part of the belief becomes giving them an action step for it. So we talked about that when we talked about the RPM method. But part of the showing belief is that, hey, look, I've got an action plan for you. Here's your massive action plan to actually get this thing. This is why I believe so strongly that you can do this, because I see it clear as day. Then the sixth one is getting their permission to hold them accountable, or getting their commitment, or getting their buy-in, or making sure they're on the same page as you. And then after the sixth step of getting commitment, it's reminding them about why you're excited to work with them once more. And this is one of those ones where you're sandwiching that at the beginning and at the end, because what that does is it just allows people to feel it and to be there with you. So the other thing that's great about this, guys, is when you have these what's in it for them conversation, it also gives you the ability to be a tough coach for your people. Because when you're doing this, what you're really transitioning from is being hard on results, but being soft on people, meaning that you really show them that you're caring about people, but you're being a stickler to the results. And some of you guys have maybe been on the other end of one of these tough conversations with me, or your district manager. And while it doesn't initially feel good, the great leaders, when you're leaving that, you feel great about the fact that you had this difficult conversation. And I will say, for me, some of the hardest conversations that I've had in the business with some of my leaders were ones where I didn't really feel great going into that conversation, but then leaving that conversation, I had even more respect and appreciation for them as a leader, and working with them. So that is so having those conversations is super critical. So having those conversations are really important. And those what's in it for them conversations really kind of help to establish amazing cohesion within the organization, and I guess synergy towards moving in the right direction as a unit. So those what's in it for them combos are pretty big. One of the things I'd like you to do, if you're in front of something where you can take notes on, or if this is a recording and you're seeing this recording, take this exercise, and I want you to have a what's in it for them conversation with yourself on why the Leadership Academy is going to benefit you. So what, I know it's kind of strange, but what that means is when you're having this what's in it for them conversation with yourself, what that means you first got to do is remind yourself of why you love yourself. So remind yourself of why you love you. Then after having that what's in it for them conversation, step one of remind yourself of why you love you. Next, right, talk about the Leadership Academy. Why this Leadership Academy? What is Leadership Academy to you? We're talking about what is Leadership Academy to you? What does it mean to you? Third is, why does it matter to everybody to go through Leadership Academy? Fourth, how is it going to help you specifically? Fifth, why do you believe in yourself? How, write down the reasons why you believe that you can get through this. Draw from past experience of you being able to handle tough things or be able to get through other time commitments and other things. Show a time when you've had to balance multiple schedules, but yet we're still able to achieve the tasks that had to get done. Sixth one, write your commitment. Who are you going to give permission to hold you accountable? What are you going to tell yourself when you start to doubt? Because you will want to doubt. You will want to give up on yourself. One of the things that we're going to talk about at our first monthly prep is the concept of situational leadership. And as you start to get more into any program, things start to get more difficult. As you start to get more aware of what's going to take, your immediate commitment and enthusiasm starts to drop. We call that concept D2. So what are you going to tell yourself when you get to that point? And then lastly, remind yourself why you love yourself and why this is something that's going to benefit you. So do this program with yourself. Now, here's the next step for this. What I want you to do is the next time you're in a situation where you need to influence something, I want you to remember the what's in it for them process, the what's in it for them conversation template format. When you're maybe your next demo that you're doing, let's implement the what's in it for them concept for when you're doing your presentations. Logic, that's why every customer loves Cutco. Emotion, that's why specifically for them, it makes it amazing. Perhaps the belief is mapping it out for them and showing them how affordable it is. And then reminding them why they're going to love Cutco at the beginning and at the end, right? But utilize those what's in it for them conversations when you're with customers. Utilize it when you're with your friends, when you're hanging out. If you're trying to get them to go to spring break, or if you're trying to get them to go to a party, right? Remember those. It's like, hey, dude, I just want to remind you, I love hanging out with you. I want to talk to you a little bit about going to this party. And here's the deal. Everybody needs to have a good time when they're in school. I want to talk about you specifically, though. Boom, 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 boom. Hey, I know we can get this done. I know you can, get that party done and still be able to get your homework done and still get everything else done. Let's map it out. But hey, is it cool if you come to the party with me, right? And then, dude, we're going to have so much fun, right? But think about that what's in it for them conversation format and apply it on your day-to-day. And it will help you to have synergized teams and movement with people going in the direction that is mutually beneficial for both parties. So hopefully you've gotten some value out of that. I want to wrap up tonight, though, by going over 20 key thought processes and quote / I guess lessons for leaders in general. And then we'll allow you guys to post your takeaways. I'll post the recording in the WhatsApps, that way you guys have it. And I'll remind you just of some upcoming events at the end. So the 20 life lessons for leaders, or 20 talking points for leaders. Number one is just to always do the right thing. And what I mean by always doing the right thing is it's better to have less the right way than more the wrong way. Doing the right thing is contagious, meaning if you're just constantly doing the right thing because it's the right thing to do, people will notice it. Right? People will notice it. And what I mean by that is if your representatives walk in and they see you jamming through a phone call, like people at the team meeting, if they see you as a leader, you could be a leader without a title, by the way. You may be just a normal representative in your office right now. But if new reps walk in and they see you crushing the phone the right way, making 20 calls an hour, booking up all your appointments, helping to build the team with quality people, putting up posts, well, they're going to mimic what they see. Unfortunately, they also mimic the wrong things too. So if they walk in and you're complaining about every phone call right after you hang up with them, or you're, spouting off that nobody is answering, well, then they're going to start to do the same thing. So one of the best things being a leader is just leading by example, doing the right thing. Number two, admit when you're wrong. So being vulnerable. And this is a tough one because as a leader, especially a young leader, a new leader, you don't want to admit you're wrong because you want to always show that you have the right answers. But I will say this, guys, it is important to admit when you're wrong because, you know, they're going to figure it out. And so if you make a mistake, admit to it, own it, let them know it's not going to happen again. And I will say, guys, it sucks admitting when you're wrong until you actually do it once. And when you do it once and you see that people, you know, don't abandon you and they actually respect and appreciate your honesty, it really is pretty special. Number three, understand that behaviors have consequences, and bad behaviors have consequences. And if you have individuals that aren't operating in the right processes, you got to make sure that you're, you know, not necessarily punishing people, but standing firm on what your standards are. And we'll talk about standards in a bit, but it sucks to kind of punish people short term, but long term, it ends up being pretty awesome. So there'll be plenty of opportunities as a leader to kind of look the other way when somebody is doing something that, you know, they shouldn't. The great leaders, they don't settle for that. They don't stand for that. Those 30 seconds of courage to confront somebody about something that they're not doing the right way. It takes a little bit of courage to do that, but then once you do it, it makes it a lot easier. One of the easiest things, guys, I'll tell you that you'll see at a team meeting, at a phone jam, is newer representatives not following the approach to book up appointments. It's super easy just to kind of let it slide, especially if they book it. But here's the problem. When you allow those behaviors to settle in, it becomes very, very tough to kind of handle that, right? And get them out of it once they've gotten settled into that rhythm. Now, here's the thing. If you want to have people naturally conform to the right procedures, make sure that the fourth step is to reward great behavior. Recognize actions versus just simply results. You know, so if you see somebody follow the approach word for word, but maybe they don't book up, it's like, hey, I just want to stop you for a second there, you know, Urel, and just compliment you on the way you followed that phone approach, dude. I know you didn't get that demo booked up, but by following that script, man, you're going to book up more appointments, and you're going to be one of our best reps on the team. You know, so recognizing the right action. And one of the things that, you know, I've heard in our business multiple times, but whatever you appreciate does appreciate, meaning whatever you focus on does improve. It's a concept called the Hawthorne effect, but it's statistics analyzed, or statistics improved. So things that you analyze, things that you appreciate, things that you build up, or things that you're going to have naturally replicated, especially as a leader, because we started this video by talking about how people, they want to know that their leader respects them and likes working with them. Well, if you're appreciating and recognizing great behaviors, they're going to want to do more of that. Okay. And I will say that most people, they enjoy appreciation way more than they enjoy paychecks. You know, so long as the paycheck is sufficient, the appreciation means a lot more than the money. Right? Fifth point for leaders is striving to get things right, not to be right. So striving to get things right, not just to be right. So swallow your pride. If you're constantly the smartest person in the room, then you're probably in the wrong room. And what I mean by that is if you're constantly the smartest person in the room, then you're not, you know, challenging yourself to get better. And that's a lot of pressure to always have to have the answers, you know? And here's the other thing. If you're always the smartest person in the room, you're always the one that provides the answers. When somebody struggles or somebody fails, which somebody's going to have little mini failures, no matter what business they're in, or struggles, then you're going to be the scapegoat. You're going to be the one to blame. Everybody has strengths, so if you allow everybody to use it and you recognize people that are doing the right things, you're going to see they're going to get excited, they're going to be built up, and they're going to get better, and they're going to grow. The sixth key for leadership is to care about the people around you. If you do this, the quick answer of, hey, what should I do or how should I operate becomes very simple. If you're tasked with helping somebody or being in charge of somebody, You always want to do what's in their best interest. And if you just say, hey, what's in their best interest, or really what's in it for them? What's the best way to help them get the most out of it? Then they're going to end up being successful. And you're going to end up being a great leader for your people, and caring about them. Number 7, and this is an emotional intelligence statement, but when emotions are high, logic is low. So when emotions are high, logic is low. So when you're emotional, when things are kind of crazy and things are all over the place, well, your logic tends to be a little bit lower. And if your logic is lower, then what ends up happening is you lash out, or you say things that later you end up regretting. So when emotion's high, logic is low. So just understand, if you sense, like a wave of energy, and then it's, anger or sadness or something like that, don't operate from that immediate position. Try to take 10 seconds and get off. For example, if you're on a phone call with somebody and it's really getting heated, before you say something that you're going to end up regretting later, or something somebody's going to latch on to and remember forever, especially if words of affirmation is high on their list, take a pause and just say, hey, I want to acknowledge that both of us are really freaking heated right now. And I know it probably isn't going to come out so eloquently as, hey, I want to take a pause and understand we're both heated, but, like they can just say, you know what, right now we can't have this conversation because we're going to piss each other off. That's usually probably how it'll come out. But you need to make sure that if emotion's high, understanding logic is low. If you understand that concept, then that helps. You can then take a step back when you need to and reflect before answering the right way. You can also acknowledge it with the other party involved. It's like, hey, I want to mention that, hey, when emotions are high, logic tends to be low, and so just understand where you're at right now may not be where you're at in a week, or may not be where you're at in an hour, may not be where you're at in 5 minutes. So important that emotions are high, logic is low. Number 8, and this comes from the book, The 4 Agreements, but be impeccable with your word. Do what you say you're going to do. Use your word to influence for the greater good, not to tear people down, to build people up, to help people. Okay, so be impeccable with your word. And for those that are in our next level group, I mentioned that when we get together for next month, or on September 8th, we're going to be having a completely different curriculum for you guys than our first year team. But one of the books you're going to want to get and be willing to read as part of our next level group is The 4 Agreements. It is a super easy book to read. If you say that you don't think that you can read it because you have so many other reading assignments, other stuff to do, I'd be really worried about your ability to read any other assignments, because this book is super simple. It's 100 pages in big writing. So 4 Agreements, pick up your copy now so that way you have it. If you want to read it in advance, it would be even easier to have a healthy conversation when we get together, not this Saturday, but 2 Saturdays from now. So September 8th. So understand, being impeccable with your word is important. Saying what you mean, meaning what you say, doing what you say you're going to do. Avoid using the word to speak against others, but rather to build people up. Along with that, number 9 is to listen. This is another legendary learning that I had from Larry Manley himself. But he said, God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. Listen. So listen to other people. Show up with 0 expectations or assumptions. You don't necessarily know what somebody needs as a leader until you actually listen to them. So don't assume you always know. It's super easy the more successful you get in our business too. Because the reason I say that is because when somebody says, we analyze some of these results. Like sometimes we look at somebody and we say, oh, they're not getting recommendations. Well, that's easy. They're not reading the recommendation approach. And that may be correct. They may not be following it. But what may actually be the real thing is that maybe they don't believe that people should give recs. Or maybe they don't believe that that's something that people do. And so it may be a belief thing more so than just a simple, hey, read this, right? So you got to listen first. Number 10 is great leaders need to reflect daily. They need to analyze. They need to set the charts and set the course. So, journal. We do that during every big push, but why not do it every day? You know, wins and losses for the day before, big 3 action steps to win that day, 5 things that you appreciate, and then throw in a little wild card every day to kind of mix it up and make it fun for you. But reflecting daily is important. We have most of the answers internally, especially leaders that have been through the process as a next level candidate or as a district manager. You have the answers. Sometimes you just need to create the space to realize it. Number 11, dream big. It's not about you. It's about your team. It's about the people around you. As a father, as a husband, as a wife, as a son or daughter, right? It's about your people. Okay, it's all about your people. You know? And so making sure that you're dreaming big. Imagine what's possible for them. Thinking small really helps no one. Okay. Number 12, have fun. You know, have fun. And here's the thing. Some people are like, oh, I'm not having fun, so it's not worth it. Well, you can make anything fun. You can make anything fun. You know, you can make phone jams fun. Every certain number of calls, you do something. You reward yourself. You take every demo you book up, you take a shot on a basketball goal, or maybe you reward yourself by eating Skittles, Starburst, something like that, right? But having fun, you won't become happy just by being successful, but you will be successful by being happy and having fun. You know, so striving and working hard and making it energetic and fun along the way is important. 13, guys, is to have standards. Leaders have great standards. So have great standards. People around you will know what you stand for and what you don't. You know, so I think that's something that's important to have, is to have big standards. People around you will appreciate that. It also allows them to know how to operate. You know, so standards for phone jams, standards for being a part of the team, standards for being a part of your staff. See, a lot of people want to be a part of a staff, but they don't know what they're expected of. So, hey, here's the standards, what it means. 14, lead by example. It's easy to push others when you're pushing yourself. It's easier to bring other people with you when you're already leading the way. You know, it's also really easy to be soft on others when you're soft on yourself. And what I mean by that is, forgiving yourself for screw-ups and always striving to do the right things, not necessarily dwelling on the results, okay? Along with that, guys, be positive. To be positive takes no talent. Okay? It takes no talent. And if you have trouble with this, just remember this, guys. You chose to be right where you are. So, and so if you're not being real positive, just simply change it. If you notice that you're negative, say, you know what? I'm choosing not to be negative anymore. So here's what I'm going to switch it to. 16, work hard. Do whatever you have with all your heart. You're either growing or dying. There's really no in between. You're either getting better or you're getting worse, so make each day count. Number 17 is to be humble. Deflect praise. Somebody helped you get there. No matter how successful you are, no matter how much you did, somebody helped you to get where you are. It's not really thinking less of yourself. It's really just thinking of yourself less. So be humble. Number 18. This goes along with number 18. Kind of goes along with being taking care of your people. It's just understanding the only people that matter are the ones that show up. The only customers that matter are the ones you're doing demos with, not the ones that tell you no. The only relationship that matters is the one that you're in right now, not the one that got away. The only relationship that matters is the one that you're in forever. Right? The only friends that matter are the ones that are still with you. The ones that make you a better version of yourself. And here's the deal: if they don't make you a better version of yourself, then you're going to outgrow them anyway. So you might as well just keep growing. Be around the people that support you and make you better. Number 19 is to remember that if you want to be a great leader, you want to support their life and not just their business. Help people achieve their dreams, not a certain level of success within your organization. And if you want what's best for them, you can't go wrong with that. And then number 20, understand that, nobody is perfect. Every leader has screw-ups. Every leader has hold-ups. Every leader has setbacks and weird quirks and mannerisms. But if you always just do your best, you can't go wrong. So, guys, those are some thoughts for you on tonight's Leadership Academy program. As a constant reminder, we're going to be evaluating the 4 key areas of our 5 key areas of analyzation. One is on career sales, so CPO talk. So let's make sure we have a great phone jam this week to set up your week for success. Campaign sales are starting. This is the last week technically for the summer campaign, so scholarships will be won or lost this week. President's Club will be locked down this week. Organizations will hit bonuses based on their efforts and energy this week. So let's finish this thing strong and then transition well into the fall. Keep building your savings and your savings. Be creative with being frugal. Be aggressive with finding other ways to acquire money. Meaning, like if you have a bill or something's coming up, don't make it be the answer of, oh, I need to pull out money out of withholdings. That's not going to help you grow. Think, okay, I need to dust off the kit and sell so that way I can take care of this thing. Set up your withholding account. I know many of you guys have already done that, but make sure that you're building that thing. Be creative with your budgeting, meaning live cheap. Okay, if you're going to go out and party, don't go out to the bars and drink. Drink before you go to the bars. It makes your bar tab that much lower. If you're gonna hang out with people, find inexpensive and creative ways to do it. Kind of ironic, I'm saying this one of the more expensive places in the U.S. in Vegas, but be creative with that, right? That's something that's important. And then the next one is your leadership quotient, right? So your leadership quotient, well, that's going to be, how are you giving back and helping and leading people in your organization? Are you leading by example? What would your manager say about you if I asked you, hey, how was such and such progressing? What would they say? Do people outside of your own organization know who you are? And then lastly is your skill development. And part of skill development is learning a little bit about yourself and having more self-awareness, so that when we do give you new tasks and topics, you're able to handle those more readily. Okay? Guys, leadership is a calling. It is something that you develop. It is not something that people are born with. So it is important to make sure that you're constantly working at it. We do have our same meeting time next week. I'm excited to see your takeaways on the WhatsApp group chat for this meeting. As always, guys, remember, no excuses, play like a champion. Excited to get everybody together here in a couple weeks, September 8th, from 10 to 3 for our first monthly prep. That one's going to be epic. So excited to dig into some of those topics that we're going to be fleshing out. For next week's call, I do want you to take the Core Values Index test and assessment. It's also a very quick assessment. It takes a little bit longer than the love language, so it may not be something that you necessarily do today, but at some point over the weekend, it would be valuable to take it. So I'll post, or somebody who has already taken it can post that in the WhatsApp group chat right now, so that way you can just click on the link and be able to take the free assessment. So that way it can tell you a little bit about who you are and how you handle things and natural ways to get better. So, guys, have an amazing week. And I can't wait to see you on the sales reports, see you in person next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. See you.